So, let's explore a pretty fascinating and, let's be honest, provocative idea. What if our most basic biological drive, our sexuality, wasn't just about reproduction? What if it was actually a key to spiritual transformation? We're going to dive into the work of Osho to really understand a perspective that sees our bodies not as some kind of limitation, but as the ultimate piece of technology. To really get where this is all going, you have to start with this core idea from the ancient philosophy of Tantra. It's such a simple but really profound shift in thinking. Instead of seeing the body as something you have to ignore or, overcome, it's seen as this sacred vessel. It's our most direct connection to reality itself. All right, here's our roadmap. First, we'll dig into why the body is considered a temple. Then, we're going to look at a pretty controversial biological difference that Osho claims has shaped thousands of years of human history. From there, we'll see how this energy can actually be a glimpse into a higher state of consciousness, and we'll wrap it all up by looking at this whole philosophy as a kind of ancient biohacking. Okay, let's jump right into that foundational idea, the body as your temple. Seriously, this concept is the bedrock for everything else we're going to talk about today. So, from a tantric point of view, your body isn't some obstacle to enlightenment. It's the only bridge you have to get there. To fight against your body is to completely lose your grounding in reality. This philosophy says the body is the single greatest mystery, this incredibly complex and intelligent system that we're meant to work with, not against. So instead of treating your body like a burden or an enemy, the tantric path is all about reverence and friendship. It's about developing this deep sense of gratitude for this amazing mechanism we get to live in, seeing it as a gift that, when you really take care of it, can show you some pretty profound truths. Now, this reverence for the body, this is where Osho makes a really controversial point about biology. One he argues has had massive implications throughout history. Okay, here is Osho's most provocative claim by far. He argues that there's this fundamental biological disparity. On one hand, he says, men are sexually limited to a single localized orgasm, which actually depletes their energy. But in contrast, he says that women are biologically capable of multiple total body orgasms, an experience he describes as nourishing, even regenerative. He literally calls this an infinite superiority. And he then argues that this biological difference created this deep-seated inferiority complex in men. The idea is that because he was unable to match this capacity, man sought to establish his superiority in other ways, by systematically limiting female power. And this, of course, brings us directly to the psychosocial consequences of that perceived imbalance, which Osho says have just echoed throughout all of human history. So, to maintain that sense of superiority, Osho claims that man systematically held back female potential. And this was done by denying women access to education, to financial independence, to social freedom. But crucially, he says it also involved denying women the knowledge of their own orgasmic capacity, and in some cultures, taking it to the extreme of even denying that they had a soul at all. But according to Osho, the driving force behind this long history of suppression wasn't just simple malice. It was a deep-seated fear. The fear that a woman who was truly liberated, fully aware of her own innate power, would just be, well, uncontrollable. All right, so now let's pivot. We're going to move from the historical and the physical over to the spiritual. Because according to this whole philosophy, sexual energy has a purpose that goes way, way beyond simple biology. Osho asks us to completely reframe this experience. I mean, what if its primary purpose wasn't reproduction at all? He proposes that it's actually nature's built-in mechanism for giving every single one of us a glimpse of a higher state of consciousness. He explains that at the peak of this experience, two really profound things happen. First, that constant internal monologue in your head, the chatter, it just stops. That's a state he calls no mind. And second, our perception of time just dissolves. A single moment can feel like it lasts forever. And this quote just illustrates Osho's central point perfectly. He's arguing, this experience is a natural doorway to samadhi, a deep state of meditation where your consciousness expands. It's like nature's little hint that you are so much more than just your physical body. It's offering a brief but incredibly powerful taste of a different reality. Okay, so that all sounds pretty philosophical, right? But how does this ancient wisdom translate into a practical framework? How can we actually apply this understanding of our own energy? Well, we can reframe these ideas as a kind of ancient biohacking. It's not about suppressing our natural energy, but about consciously using our own biology as a technology to unlock our higher potential. It's about moving beyond just raw instinct and moving toward conscious evolution. And according to Tantra, the path to achieving this is laid out in 3 stages. First, you purify the body by releasing all those repressions and just letting its natural energy flow freely. Second, you sharpen your senses so they become these clear windows to reality, not dull filters. And then finally, you liberate the mind from its obsessive, repetitive thought loops. So, this whole exploration of Osho's perspective leaves us with a final and pretty provocative thought. If something as fundamental as our own biology holds a key to a spiritual experience, it just makes you wonder, what other profound potentials hidden inside our own nature have we been taught to completely ignore?